Hello, my name is Nick Schreiber, and I am presenting on case study number 4, Leadership Metal Forged in Battle. So I chose this because I am interested in hiring veterans. We have, for the firm I work for and I'm now a partner of, we have hired veterans in the past, and we've had good success hiring veterans in the past. We also currently have 2 veterans on staff, and we also have 2 current military spouses, and we've had great success in the past with military spouses as well. So we will continue to hire veterans, and I'll go into reasons why as I talk about this case study. So some background information on the case study, and I did a little bit of additional research because I was interested in the subject. So down there I found an article by fortune.com that I use as references here. So hiring individuals with a military background. In 2008, Walmart senior leadership identified a potential issue. The already giant company was growing, yet the perceived talent pool was shrinking. They felt like they couldn't find enough talent to fill the positions in these management roles that they were trying to fill. So the CEO at the time, Mr. Bill Simon, he was actually a 25-year veteran of the Navy and Naval Reserves. I was not surprised to see that when I came across that article because it makes perfect sense. He understands the characteristics and behaviors that he exhibits in a CEO position for Walmart. So I would call that a leadership role. So he identified that these types of roles can be filled by military veterans and may be filled effectively. So Walmart made the decision to recruit from the U.S. military, and they sent recruiters to military job fairs across the nation, as stated in the case study. So as a result, in 2008, Walmart hired 150 junior military officers. Now, I felt like there had to be more to that, and I was correct. On Walmart's own website, they state that due to that early success, they expanded their strategy and launched the Veterans Welcome Home Commitment on Memorial Day in 2013. They go on to say that their original goal was 250,000 hires, and they are proud to announce that as of 2020, they achieved that benchmark. The website actually stated that they're up over 320,000 at whatever date the website was most recently updated. So, as a nationwide large retail company, I think that is great success and great story for a giant firm, a giant company within our nation hiring military veterans. Some key points on the case study that I found: military veterans exhibit a variety of valuable skills learned through experience. This quote was included by General David Petraeus. I'm not going to, say the whole thing, but they're under enormous scrutiny. On top of everything else, they're pretty formative experiences. It's a bit like a crucible-like experience. These young men and women, many times out of high school, most in their young 20s, enter military service and go through boot camp, and immediately are taught, communication lessons and how to take direction. They get torn down and built back up as stronger individuals who can take heat in the moment, who can make it through experiences to get to the ultimate goal. And these are traits and behaviors that you find through most military veterans, especially those who actually saw duty during their service. So key issues, that I found and that we'll expand on later on. Military veterans may need to relearn some lessons from earlier in their training. Many go through, a 15, 20-year career and forget some of those lessons they learned from early on, so they may need to rehash some of that. And some veterans may need to adjust their scale of political correctness for office environments. I have met plenty of veterans who are fantastic employees, but also not necessarily politically correct in today's work environment. So to go into some of the questions, we were provided 3 questions, and so I'll tackle each one of these one by one. But do leaders in military context exhibit similar qualities as organizational leaders? And I would say a resounding yes. I feel very much so. And I'll go into one of the more recent modules that we've learned, the theories of leadership, and specifically the behavioral theory of leadership. Military veterans exhibit valuable skills that only experience can bring. From the case study, it states they're used to having to make do in less than optimal conditions. They can negotiate across cultures. That's a huge example. Anybody who saw service and went overseas had to integrate themselves in a culture that they are completely not used to. And learning how to communicate locally and to get what they needed or what they wanted, and then to deal with the people over. I mean, it's just, you're thrown into a situation, so you have to adapt, and that in itself teaches individual improvement, and you can take that into business environments. They operate under extreme stress. Obviously, if you've ever been under fire or been near any kind of explosive, you can understand that these individuals can deal with the stresses of a office environment. It's a much different situation. And then there's various personality traits. So go back to like the Briggs and Myers. Military veterans tend to exhibit traits sought in leaders. One example is many military veterans are extroverts. They have the ability to be energized and the ability to energize those around them. And they have the ability to fit in, to create relationships, to make bonds with those around them, to just be able to get along. And that develops trust, and you want trust in leaders. They have conscientiousness. They're determined to achieve goals, and they're able to show self-discipline and self-control. Immediately when I think of a military veteran, I think of someone who has self-control, and the ability, not even the ability, the motivation to achieve goals at no cost. If you have to come in and work late or work early or stay overnight, work overtime, we don't, at my office, we don't want that often. We hope it doesn't occur often, but when overtime is needed, we want those individuals who are willing to step up. Excuse me. And those are leadership traits shown often by military veterans. I'll even go in to say that we recently were trying to hire a temporary office assistant. Very, very low level type of position. But in the job posting, I put that there is potential for a permanent position and advancement in the career. And I got this resume that stood out to me, not as somebody to hire for the office assistant, but to immediately hire for the next position. He is a military veteran of 19 years, and at the bottom under military training, he has advanced leadership and development course, and he has a basic leadership development course. So just by being in the military, they have the on duty, in the line of service type of lessons that you learn, but they also have actual classes and development courses for leadership roles that excel in a military environment, but can also relate to an office environment in certain cultures. To go into question number 2, how military leadership lessons may not apply in the private sector. So there is a military style of orders. Military veterans may be too aggressive in their one-to-one motivation. Not all effective employees respond well to orders. And that's, I have met over my 12 years in my professional career, I've met many employees who just don't take well to direct orders. They want to have more of a conversation with you, get their direction, and move on. And that's not necessarily the way that military individuals learn how to communicate. So that is something that needs to probably be conditioned for the most part once these veterans get into corporate or private office life. Companies in today's social culture are more laid back and casual, and many military veterans may need to relearn what is appropriate and acceptable. And that, whether it's jokes or what's funny and what's appropriate, sometimes they can toe the line. And I do I don't think it's a problem overall, but it's something that they need to pay attention to. Learn to adapt to other personalities rather than expecting others to adapt to their personality. And that kind of goes back to my first point of you have to be able to relate to the individual and not expect them to just take direction the way that they were taught to give and to take direction. It's a distinct line of authority that military individuals learn, and they take orders from above and they give orders below. Sometimes you need to work in a little bit different of a team environment depending on who you're trying to communicate to. And then something else that came to mind, it's not necessarily a lesson learned, but more of a characteristic developed, but many military veterans have been rough around the edges. They just need to take a new approach to the political correctness in office. Question number 3, specific types of work more likely to benefit from military veterans. So the more I thought and developed this presentation and did a little research on the side and thought about it, the more I thought it's not so much about a specific industry or a specific product or service. It's more about the position. It's you want to hire these military individuals for leadership or management or director type of positions. People who manage people who sell the product, or people who manage people who provide the service. Those are the positions you want to hire these people for. They have corporate environments that they would do well in a corporate environment that puts an emphasis on team-oriented methodologies. They would do well in positions where responsibility revolves around the management of a department or service. Do well in management of community relations. Everybody loves a veteran. So if you hire somebody to be a spokesperson for your company and you're a veteran, people are immediately drawn to that story and want to support that type of a business. So certain specific examples that come to mind. So in the industry that I work in, a business development position for an AE firm who does federal government work. So I'm literally the business development marketing individual for my firm, and we do primarily federal government work for the Corps of Engineers, for the Air Force, for the Navy, et cetera, et cetera. So many large companies hire former military individuals with higher rank to fill these positions of business development, and it makes perfect sense. And I don't blame them for doing it, because it's immediately a communication starter, a conversation starter rather. When you have those individuals who have served with these other individuals, it's immediately a step in the right direction. So I completely understand why firms, especially the large architectural and engineering firms, hire these former military individuals, especially the high-ranking ones. Other examples, a department director of a shipping company. I mean, insert any company and you put a military veteran in a department director position of managing people, and I feel like it's going to work well for most of the time. It's all about the person-to-person relationships and if they're able to communicate. Business relations for a local chambers of commerce, going back to that being the spokesperson of something. Like here locally, a military veteran working for the chamber would make a lot of sense. If they were hired directly from Shepherd Air Force Base, someone who was retiring at a certain age can easily step into that type of a role and do well. And then, for example, a management role in a department or retail store. I mean, the case study was Walmart. Insert Target or Kohl's or any Amazon, any kind of logistics management type of role. And I do feel like a military veteran has many of the behaviors that you would want to see in a leader in those types of positions. So in conclusion, military veterans exhibit many behaviors that are found in effective leaders. I alluded to I named many of the behaviors earlier, but it's that real life, stresses and ability to get through issues and obstacles and problems and reach a goal. Those are the people that you want to hire. And I truly think that successful fits are more about the role and the position and not so much about the product or service. So again, my name is Nick Schreiber, and this was my case study number 4, and I appreciate your time.